Hi, I'm Kyle Lewis, and this is my office slash studio. I wanted to just talk a little bit about my music. I came from a very musical family. My grandmother was a church pianist, and she came from a long line of singers. I remember my mom always singing around the house, and when we would get together for Christmas and Thanksgiving, all the aunts would sit around the piano and bring a guitar, and we'd all sing and they would harmonize. And now I have kind of passed on that tradition to my kids. Both of my children, Drew and Jordan, are very musical. My son plays piano and guitar and drums, and my daughter is more into the singing aspect. Well, when I was young, I got involved in music at a fairly young age, 5th grade. Started with the trumpet in the junior high band, though I always wanted to be a drummer. And later on got into drums and piano, and those were my primary instruments through high school and college. In college, I played piano for a singing group called Pilgrimage at Northwest Christian College, and later transferred to the University of Oregon with a major in music. Studied piano, and it was exposed to many different kinds of music like jazz and gospel, and it was there that I found the University Gospel Choir and accompanied them for several years, and also played for another gospel choir in Eugene. Well, I graduated with a degree in music education, and I moved to Portland and was teaching in the North Clackamas School District for 6 years, teaching elementary music K through 6. During that time I was also doing some performing, and later started playing for church, and that later turned into a church job for me, playing piano, doing arranging with some different instruments, and also leading the music for the church services. In 2003 we moved to France, and I was working with some evangelical churches outside of Paris on the West End. In 2007 we moved to Gresham, and I continued working with churches here in the area and continued to do some performing, and I'm now working on a new CD project. It's a worship CD project of original church music. People have often asked me about the creative process about writing music. How do you come up with songs? How do you get inspired? And there's probably 2 or 3 different ways that I get inspired. Sometimes I'll actually hear a song in my head, or I'm walking down the street and I have a little tune running through my head. And so I try to jot that down as quickly as I can. I try to remember it, and if I'm dropping off the kids, I have to sing it all the way home until I get home, and can either record it quickly on my music software or just make some notes on some paper. Sometimes I'll actually get inspired by poetry or a scripture verse or another hymn that I'm working with, and I'll use those lyrics to write a completely different tune. Sometimes what I do is when I'm working with my digital software, I'll just create something like a little simple drum pattern, and then I'll try to be inspired by that, and then I'll add a bass line to that and add some keyboard stuff. And as an arranger, I'm always trying to think, what's missing, or what needs to be taken away. So in a way, it's kind of like painting or another art form, in that there are various different ways that you get inspired, and if you were to create something one day, it would be different than if you were to create that same thing the next day. So like art and writing, music is similar in that part of it is the creative process, how creative a person is, but part of it is also the experience and education that a person has. In music, you need to know how to notate music, know what chords are, understanding different jazz chords, classical training. So the different training that you have is going to be reflective in your inspiration. So if I'm more into classical music and I've studied Mozart, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, my music is probably going to reflect that. But if I'm more into jazz and improvisation, then my writing is probably going to reflect that as well. So that's a little bit about my music and the creative process. Like I said, I'm currently working on a worship CD project that my wife has so diligently encouraged me to finish. So hopefully I'll be finished with that soon and then see what's on the horizon for the next project.